£1.8 billion for the health service, where is it coming from?
Well, one of the great advantages of having more people in work than ever before, the lowest unemployment since the 1970s, wages growing at their fastest rate for a decade, businesses looking to invest in the UK, is the economy is working, and we want to make sure it works for people, and that means getting money into the NHS. Boris has made it absolutely clear he wants to see that money reaching the front line of the NHS, and that's what this commitment's about. There's 20 extra hospitals, getting equipment, making sure that people see that money working for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're not new hospitals. This is improvement to existing hospitals.
This is improvements to hospitals that we need to see, as I say, new equipment, repairs, upgrades, things that people will see in their everyday lives.
So where is the money coming from?
Well, as I say, the money's coming from economic growth. This is why it's so important that we keep the economy growing, that we do things like the Northern Powerhouse to make sure the economy is growing, not just in London and the South East, but all over the country, the Midlands engine.
We've got growth at 2009 levels, though, don't we?
Well, all these decisions, all the things that Boris is announcing about Crossrail for the North, about Midlands engine, free ports, this is all about that economic growth, and that's what gives us the tax receipts that enables us to spend money on those 20,000 extra police officers and the NHS and the education funding, those domestic policy commitments that Boris has made.
So this is future growth. This isn't growth that's currently taking place. This is growth that we're going to have to wait for at some point in the future. Otherwise, it means we're either going to have to be borrowing more, which seems to be the case. Otherwise, we're going to have to see income tax going up or corporation tax going up.
No, if you want to go to a party that's going to do high taxes and unaffordable borrowing, that's the Labour Party. The Labour Party are committing to 1,000 billion of unfunded commitments. So
yeah, but debt's going up under the Conservatives at the moment, isn't it?
But the point is that the decisions that we've made in government to get the economy in balance, so we're getting economic growth better than a lot of our other global competitors, not as much as we would want, and that's why Boris is talking about pump priming the economy, getting those things in place in the North, in the Midlands, in London, and also in the other parts of the UK, to make sure we've got the growth to fund the public services that we want. I
mean, the Nuffield Trust describes this as a drop in the ocean. The Health Foundation says that we need £6 billion to get the NHS back on track. A £6 billion repair bill currently existing. I mean, £1.8 billion in additional funding will be welcomed, but it comes nowhere close to getting the health service to where it needs to be.
The health service is better funded now than ever before in its history, and 1.8 billion is nothing to be sniffed at. It is a significant commitment on top of what was already a very significant commitment to the NHS. Boris has made it absolutely clear the NHS is a priority. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure it is, ready to serve the people properly. That means investing in it. That means investing in the front line so people can feel the improvements in their daily lives. That's what he's committed to, and that's what we're doing.
I wonder if we can talk about the Brecon by-election just for a moment. I mean, that must have been a huge disappointment, particularly for yourself, the new chairman of the party, that you couldn't hold onto that seat, and you're now sitting with a majority of just one.
Yeah, of course it's a disappointment. We don't like losing elections. I don't like losing elections. We campaign in these elections because we want to win. We came close in this one. My frustration, and I know you brought it up with Claire, my real frustration is that 3,000 people who voted clearly because they wanted Brexit delivered have now got a Lib Dem MP who's going to make it her cause to try and prevent Brexit.
Yeah, but that suggests that they don't believe you when they say that you're going to deliver Brexit by
October
the 31st.
Well, they should, because I tell you now, we are going to deliver Brexit by the 31st of October. Fact.
So there's got no ifs, no buts?
No ifs, no buts.
It's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, will you resign?
No ifs, no buts. We are going to...
If it doesn't happen, would you resign?
So the point is, if it doesn't happen, the collapse in confidence in democracy... In a democracy, you don't pick and choose which election results you abide by. We had a referendum. We made it clear, both sides of the referendum made it clear that it would be delivered. The House of Commons voted to trigger Article 50. And Article 50 means that you leave at a date with or without a deal. The House of Commons voted for that, and that is what...
Yeah,
that's what everyone in
on the proviso that we were going to get a deal.
No. Article 50 is clear. Article 50 is clear. If you cannot get a deal, you leave anyway. And the majority, including John Ashworth, who was on
the triggering of Article 50, did so believing that no deal was a possibility.
Article 50 is explicit. That at the end of the process, if you have not agreed a deal, you leave anyway. The House of Commons, including Jonathan Ashworth, who you had on earlier, voted for Article 50. Explicit, not implicit, explicit in that is leaving without a deal if one cannot be agreed. The Prime Minister is trying to get a deal, and if we can get rid of the undemocratic backstop, we may be able to leave with a deal. But if not, we are going to leave on the 31st of October.
But which is it? We see there seems to be some vacillation in the messaging coming from Downing Street, particularly this week, as to where the likelihood of no deal is. On the one hand, you've got the Prime Minister telling me that it's 1,000,000 to 1 of a chance. We had Rishi Sunak on the show last week saying that no deal preparations are now the government's #1 priority. I mean, frankly, those two don't tally.
No, they absolutely do. They absolutely do.
1,000,000 to 1, it's going to happen.
So the point is, the Prime Minister's made
it's our #1 priority.
The Prime Minister has made it clear that we want to leave with a deal. And if the EU can demonstrate a degree of pragmatism and flexibility, that can be done. But we're also making it absolutely clear, because we are going to leave on the 31st of October, and if we have to leave without a deal, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that leaving without a deal is deliverable. In my former job in DexU, that was my job, to make sure cross-government preparations were in place. Those preparations are being enhanced because we want to make sure that if we can't get a deal, that we are ready to leave anyway.
£2 billion for no-deal preparations, £2 billion roughly for the health service, an additional 20,000, recruiting 20,000 police officers. When did the Conservatives realise that austerity wasn't the right policy?
The decisions that we made to get the public finances in balance were always meant to be in place until the public finances were in balance. The public finances are now in an infinitely better place than what we inherited.
They may be in a better place, but debt is still rising.
From the economic car crash that we inherited from Labour, and we set about repairing that. That wasn't easy, but we're now in a place where the economy is performing significantly better, much better. And that enables us to do what all governments want to do, which is to make sure that the public services on which people rely are in good order. And that means that money into the NHS and policing and education and infrastructure, because these are things which we know are important. We've always known them to be important. And the economic decisions that we had to take in the aftermath of Labour's ineptitude, we had to do to get the economy in the kind of place where we can spend money where we need.
Billions of pounds worth of spending has already been set up by Boris Johnson. As I say, £2 billion for no deal, £2 billion for the health service. Look me in the eyes and with a straight face, tell me that there isn't going to be a general election this year.
We are not going to initiate a general election. We have elections all the time. We have elections every spring. It just feels
very electiony right now with all this spending going on.
No, what we've got is a new Prime Minister who, during the leadership campaign, made a number of explicit commitments, and he is setting about delivering on those commitments. Prime Ministers making good on their promises is a good thing, and that's what we're doing. And what we are ensuring is that the things that people have told us in the hustings around the country, in the online hustings that we had during the leadership, the things they told us mattered to them, we are delivering on. And that is the good old traditional priorities of the British people. They want the NHS to work. They want to feel safe in their streets. They want to see the money getting to the front line in health, policing and in education. That is what we are doing.
I just wonder, whilst we have you, just one final question on your role as chairman of the party. Of course, you're not the first person of colour to hold the position. Baroness Varsi was there. But I just wonder how you feel. That YouGov poll that came out that suggested, that 54% of Conservative rank and file believe that Islam is generally a threat to the British way of life. Are we going to get an independent inquiry into Islamophobia within the Conservative Party?
Two things. That survey was of people who claimed to be party members. We didn't share our membership data with the polling company, so we're not sure that they necessarily are. The point is, we have always taken a robust line with people who have said inappropriate things or inappropriate behaviour. We will always do that.
Is there going to be an independent inquiry?
There will be. Yes, there will be, and that will be
specific to Islamophobia and not just all forms of racism within the party.
So one of the things that we need to get is the definition of that, and so specifically on that point, we will be guided by the formal definition of Islamophobia. But the point is, we do and will always take firm action with anyone who steps outside the boundaries of appropriate behaviour.